Welcome to Hearts and Stripes, your one-stop shop for all things military marriage. I hope our discussions and interviews equip you with the tools to start or grow a beautiful marriage as we address the benefits and challenges of mil marriage. I believe life's most precious moments are worth celebrating, so I'll help you design your marriage blueprint in alignment with your core values. Thank you for joining us, and remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Let's do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hearts and Stripes podcast. This is your host, Bree Carroll, and I am so excited that you are joining us for this Heart to Heart. Now, this one is going to be good. My guest is here to talk a bit about a very sensitive topic, so I want everybody to lean in because this one, man, I'm sure it's going to bless a lot of people. But before we get into the subject matter, I am going to jump into my guest's official bio. I will have with me the one and only Tracy Dixon. And she is actually a Navy Corps wife. She's a mom of 3, and she's the branch assistant manager at a financial institution in Okinawa, Japan. She currently runs a marriage page with her husband that helps couples deal with, get this, infidelity and military life. So I'm sure you can guess what our topic for today is. It is infidelity. And I love that her message that she is bringing to everyone is that you can have a successful, wholesome, healthy, thriving marriage in the military, even after infidelity. Well, Shane and Tracy, welcome to Hearts and Stripes podcast. Say hello to everyone.
Hello there.
Hello.
Yes, thank you for joining us. I am super excited to just get to know more of your mil marriage story, hear about the group that you guys started. So let's kick things off first. You got to give us the love story. Take us back. How did you guys meet? And share a little bit about your marriage.
You tell it better than I do. So.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell the true version. Okay, so what had happened was
here we go.
He stalked me. We actually met at my job in Hampton Roads. He was active duty. He was 19 and I was 28. So we actually got married. People always joked about we didn't have alcohol at the wedding because it was at the church. And I was like, no, he's actually not legal. He actually couldn't drink when we got married. But he kept coming in. He was having some issues with his car loan. And I was just like, sir, it's 48 hours. I don't know why you keep coming back. It's literally 48 hours. So I saw him in the hallway.
He wasn't worried about the car loan. He was trying to get the assistance of the pretty lady at the desk. I see it, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So she on the Shane train already. It's too soon. But I ran into him in the hallway inside the hospital, and he was holding a Hardee's bag. And so I was like, oh, you need to give me no Hardee's. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, I'm just messing with you. Like, why would you have gotten me Hardee's? So he was like, no, tell me what you like. And I was like, bacon and cheese only, not bacon, egg, and cheese, just bacon and cheese only. And so the next day when I came to work, there was a Hardee's bag at my station.
I'm on the Shane train. I am on the Shane train. Let's go.
And I said, I bet you he got bacon, egg, and cheese. And when I opened it, it was just bacon and cheese. So I was like, okay, he was listening. So he was like, can I get your number? And I was like, no, but you can give me yours. And so I called him and I blocked my number. Remember the days of blocking the number? Yeah. And then
Star 67.
Right? So he was like, who was this? And I was like, well, how many people did you give your number out to?
Don't fall into those traps, people. Don't do it.
Don't do it. But we just talked. And I mean, we talked. And at the time I was divorced and I was a single mom. I had a 2-year-old daughter, and he asked me about her and, the relationship with her dad and relationship with me. And it just was mind blowing, especially because he was only 19. And so asked me on a date, and I remember he specifically wondered if I liked horror movies, which is my favorite. And so I was like, okay, I'll go to a movie, free popcorn, whatever. And he was like, I'll pick you up. And I was like, well, I can meet you there. And he was like, no, I'll come pick you up. And he came to the door, opened my door. He still opened car doors.
Shane Train.
And it just, we end up breaking up. So this was the fun part. We started dating. I mean, had big blowout, like just nothing. And he was like, okay, well, I'm still gonna come get Jada. That was my daughter. Because he was like, just because me and you didn't make it, I still had a relationship with her. And I'm like, to be honest, her real dad don't come get her, but you want to still pick her up. So he had like visitation with my daughter, and just watching them like interact, we slowly like got back together. So y'all always say she's the reason we're together. And then we got married in 2010. So it was a year later we got married. And she stole my wedding because he did like a scene with her.
Oh, yes.
Hug, and her neck her head fell right into his neck. And that's like the only thing that people remember from my whole wedding. Like, I was the bride, I was there, but that wasn't important. No. And so we're both military brats, which I think helped. We're living in Okinawa, Japan right now. I graduated from Okinawa, Japan 20 years ago.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, so full circle. We flew here and we've been here since 2017. We're not leaving anytime soon. So that's the fast track story.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
See, Shane, you don't even have to add anything to that story because she hit all of your highlights. Like, that was awesome. That was awesome. And I think everybody's on Shane Train right now. It's cool. Yeah. We are still team. We got Team Tracy on here too, so it's fine. But let me know, I guess I really want to hear, how did your marriage continue to grow? I love that you said it started off with just really great communication. Shane was very intentional about building relationship, not just with you, but with your daughter. So that speaks volumes. I would say, as a 19-year-old, you're probably the most mature, put together 19-year-old I've heard of approaching a relationship, very mature. And I think that is what kind of left a lasting impression. Even after you guys did kind of fall out, you came back together. And I love that, because no relationship story, every time we hear it, right, on Hearts and Stripes podcast, no relationship story is perfect. It always has its twists and turns and roads. And I love that you guys were still able to come together and meeting, and both being military brats. I do agree. I think that brings some great perspective to the relationship. It also kind of gives you the sneak peek. Now, it's not always the same as being a dependent as it is a spouse now, but it did give you a clue to what the future may hold for your relationship, what some of the challenges may be. So what were some of the challenges you saw in your marriage as you have gone through? Because you said you were married in 2010. So you are 10 years in the game. So what were some challenges that you saw in your marriage?
So first up, his first duty station was North Carolina. We were
Okay.
in Virginia, and I couldn't go because of my daughter. So we were living in two different states. He deployed in that time.
I would have to drive up every weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
Now, let me tell you though, it sounds bad, but that was some of the best years, because we only saw each other for 2 days. So it was like, yes.
It was like, those 2 days had to count.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was that 7 day a week is when the real twist started coming.
That was a big challenge, like actually coming back home, because that whole, distance make the heart grow fonder.
Absolutely.
And so we had that. So when we had constant, like, okay, I'm in your face, you're in my face. We're working in the same place every day, all night. It was just different. And we were together. We were married for only 7 months before I actually left. So we really didn't even, and I was preparing to leave, so we still didn't even have time to really spend it together.
So we probably really hit it hard in year 4 when he moved home. That was April.
Mm-hmm.
And then our daughter, so our first daughter we had together was born in 2012. And from 2012 to 2014, I was suffering from postpartum depression and PTSD, but I didn't know it.
Okay.
I was kind of in survival mode because I knew he wasn't there. So like I had to feed the baby, I had to dress the baby, I had to do that. So I did everything robotically. But I would always say something's wrong with this one. Like she doesn't connect to me like the other one. I don't think she likes me. And because I'm very positive and very comedic, a lot of people, thought that I was like making fun. But when he would come home on the weekend, she would be so peaceful and she would sleep. Or if friends would be like, we'll give you a break, she would be calm with them. So people started thinking I was the problem. And I was like, I think that I am the problem. And one night at dinner, we was eating French fries and I asked for the ketchup and the ketchup was red. And I had a whole meltdown about why was the ketchup red. And that was like the light bulb moment where I realized something is really, really wrong. Something is off. I'm tired all the time. When I'm out at work or I'm at church, I was so exhausted by the time I got home being okay for everybody else when I was at the house. So I would get home and he'd be like, every time we go somewhere, you the life of the party, and then we get home and you just want to be in the dark. And I didn't know how to explain to him all the energy I had went into that image, that facade, because so many people depended on my strength. So many people was dependent on me, that when I got home, I was like, I'm just empty. And so that's when I started therapy. And I remember my therapist said, well, how is your spouse doing with how you're responding with, this, I was like, I don't want to be touched by the kids, by him. I don't want to high five, nothing. And I was like, how dare you insinuate? Like the Shane train is everything. He would probably punch me before he ever cheated on me. And the whole time an affair had started and I did not know at all. And so he kind of had a last ditch effort. He took me on a cruise for my birthday. Something I had always wanted to do. It was 3 days. We was in the Bahamas. It was so pretty. And I was just miserable. As beautiful as it was, and as much as I wanted to, and I tried to be, I just couldn't. I couldn't enjoy it. And it pushed him. It was like, it pushed him all the way. Cause he was like, he planned it. He got a babysitter. He had got flights, even working out the stuff with my job. And he just felt like I didn't appreciate it because at the time, neither one of us really understood how bad the depression was.
Yeah.
And me not knowing, like I didn't pay attention to it because I was just seeing it, like she said, how she was with everybody else. And so I'm just feeling like, where's mine at? Like,
Right.
And so that was one of those situations where it's like I just got so gone from it, I wasn't able to pay attention and actually be there for her in that time of need because of the way I was feeling about it. So I think that was the most challenging part, me not being able to recognize and me being so, for lack of better words, hurt. So I wasn't able to really pay attention because I was just focusing on myself.
Yeah. And let me
And that was
break
the
that
biggest.
down a little bit too, because I really think for our listeners, that's really important. And I will offer grace on both sides. Neither one of you knew what was going on. Like you just said, Shane, you would see her create this facade for everyone else, giving all that energy, and then you are wondering like, hey, it's none left for me when we get home. So I know that was very challenging. And then Tracy, you are just trying to hold it together. You're not sure what's happening. And that's very tiring because it's hard to get someone to understand something that you don't even understand. But go ahead, Shane. Finish. Where were you after, or how did you feel after that cruise or that time when it should have been a nice time that away for the two of you? Where were you kind of mentally?
I felt defeated. It was basically I just really felt defeated. Because like you said, that was like my last ditch before I did anything. That really was just kind of the nail in the coffin, for lack of better words. I was just like, we are on a cruise, and my wife was not touching me. Like we were in the Bahamas. Like
Right.
Like this is our final first big trip getaway, like full getaway out the area together. And it's just like, how this is, everybody's all happy. We walking around that whole boat, people hugged up and taking pictures and everything. And I'm like, man, I can't get a hug. Like we can't,
Yeah.
we're
Mm-hmm.
fussing in the room right now. And then we would take pictures and it's just like, okay, let's go ahead and smile for these pictures so they at least look like we have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And that really just pushed me over because I didn't know what to do. I was just like, this is not working. And as much as I love my wife, I just was just like, I'm over it.
Mm-hmm.
This is just not where it's at. This isn't what I signed up for. This isn't for me. Who is she? Who am I married to?
Yeah.
And like I just didn't know because it did go from on the weekends we were good, we were having a good time, we were communicating to just we're not there. We're just distant. So it sucked. It sucked.
Yes. No, I appreciate your transparency and being real. You were being real about it. And I love how you said like, who am I married to? Like this is not the person that I married. And I feel like Tracy, you probably felt the same thing. Like you were like, who am I? Because I know after baby 2 and 3, I was looking like, who am I? I have no clue because things hormonally it changes. Now you have to step into these new roles. So I can see on both sides how you were both trying to figure out yourself and who you are in this relationship. So I absolutely can see how that identity and how you associate it with people come into play. But take us to kind of what happened after that. You already said that you were like, okay, I'm through. This was I commend you. That was a great try. But even after that failed, if you will, what happened?
We went back home and things were basically right back to the same. And so it was, I would try to do things, try to get her to go out with me, and it was just a constant no. So I felt rejected. And that was just like constant rejection from let's go on dates or let's go to the beach or let's just have sex, let's be intimate, whatever the case may be. And it just took the smallest compliment from somebody else, from the lady I had the affair with. It was the smallest thing, and that was it because I wasn't getting that from my wife at all. Um, and again, since I was so far gone because of how much I felt like I had been pushed away, it was easy to get distracted or easy for her to just put a nugget in my head. Okay, maybe somebody does want me. I finally felt wanted.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that's huge to point out. Just because my spouse and I have had the same conversations from a when you do this, I don't feel wanted. And you're right. After hearing it constantly, you start questioning your value. You start questioning, like, well, am I not good? Like, I was good enough before. Now I'm not good enough. So that other outside person now showing you, like, yeah, I I am desirable. I am wanted. I know I definitely can see how that could easily be something that you are attracted to because it's something that you're craving, right? And you're unfulfilled in that area. So even the slightest bit of or a glimmer of hope that says someone is interested, someone is showing me that attention, someone is willing to do that care or fill my bucket in that five love language, that physical touch or what have you, that's how that door is open. So you said that you did have an affair at this time. Tracy, were you still doing counseling and that type of thing?
So yes, I was in it, and he's going like further away. So now I feel like I'm trying to fight this battle with myself. And I remember I used to tell him, I almost wish I came home and said I had something, that was fatal, like something big that I would have to be at the hospital, because I feel like sometimes you hear depression and you're like, oh, she just sad, or oh, she just, it's to some people it's not a real thing. And so I didn't get that support for him because I feel like he was like, oh, it's something made up. It's just a clinical term. that they're using.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
it don't have the same impact. Like
it doesn't have the same weight as other things.
Right. Or
Mhm.
something like that. So we're going, doing things, and my red flags, my women intuition, Holy Spirit starting to speak something. I'm like, something is off. He knew. So going in, my ex, I tell my daughter all the time, he had a lot of love to share. When she used to say, why are you still not my dad? He just had a lot of love to share. And so he knew that hurt for me. And so I tried so hard not to make him pay for that I think I would let certain things go, because I was like, you know what, he's not him. So don't penalize, because sometimes people like, don't penalize me for what your ex did. So then I went too far to the other extreme and started ignoring little signs.
And I took that as she didn't care.
Right.
That's like, so and as crazy as that sounds, I was just like, oh well, she's not paying attention to me at all. Like nothing.
Right. There were things that you probably blatantly like, I'm waiting for you to notice and be upset and care, because that would be some show of emotion more than what you were getting. So yeah.
So it exploded in September. It was a lot of text messages on Verizon. It was like text and pictures and videos. And I was like, what? Like, what's going on? So it was a weird number. And one of them, out of like 1,000 texts, it was one that had her email address. And when I plugged it in, social media, Facebook pulled it up. So we all work in the same building. She worked on my floor. I mean, it was like so.
I was that far gone. Like I just didn't.
All the women in Virginia, I'm like, you found one in the same building on my same floor.
That's a lot.
Right?
Yeah,
so
that's a lot. No blaming, Shane, because I completely see where you were. I understand what you're saying. It was like, even if someone's on the floor, it took you this long to even notice. So not playing sides here because it's a sensitive subject, but I could absolutely see how this unfolds. So Tracy, walk us through. You said things kind of exploded, and then so what was that rock bottom point, and where did y'all go from there?
So it was a medium bottom, and then it was a rock bottom. So medium bottom is the morning that it came out. Like he was at her house. Like he came out of her house. So that was the first one, and then we went through.
No, that was afterwards. When I came home, it was like 5 o'clock.
Oh, you're talking about the actual bus. Okay, so when he first came home, he talking about after I saw the text messages. That's where we were at.
And with quick interjection with that, this is how I know God is real, by the way. Literally, I left her house, and as I'm pulling into the driveway, I said, God, if you do not stop this, in 2 weeks, I'm leaving. Sure enough, she had the deadbolt lock on the door and just bust out the house. Are you cheating on me? And I'm like, wow, you work that fast.
You work fast.
Super fast.
Wow.
Man, it ain't, I was just mind blown. Like, this is, go ahead.
So that's right. Yeah. So that was the night, the text messages. And so we kind of went back and forth. He was like, it's just a friend, and, I'm tripping, blah, blah, blah. So then it falls, and he's like, they're like roommates now. They're hanging out. So then I find him at our house, and we start talking again. And the hardest part is he was like, I'm not going to unfriend her. Like, she's just a friend. I have peace at her house. They play games. I'm like, what in the world? We got kids and mortgage and bills and jobs, and you up here talking about she play games. And so that was the tour. So we go out to dinner one night. I'm like, hey, because God tells me as clear as day to stay. Because I'm like, I'm done. You already knew my past. I'm done. And God is like, you're not done. And I'm like, no, God, I'm done. And he's like, you're not done. So I said, okay, I'm going to stay. So I'm thinking, because I said I'm going to stay, that he's just going to act right instantly. And that's not what happened.
That's good. I'm glad you pointed that out. Right. Just because you got instruction doesn't mean that it was just going to be smooth sailing. That's good.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, so now not only do I have to stay, but I have to fight. So you want me to fight for a man who is cheating on me. I was real mad. I had, my faith is strong, but I was mad. I'm like, I'm gonna be obedient, but I'm gonna be obedient with an attitude. And so I invite him to dinner. We go out to dinner. He had threw his wedding ring and everything. So I had his wedding ring and I was like, can you do me a favor?
Dramatic. It was so
dramatic.
dramatic.
He was real dramatic.
I was driving away. I threw it out the window. It was like a movie. It was real
dramatic. Okay.
But I went and picked it up because I realized how much it cost and it is a nice ring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I appreciate you picking that up, Shane. I appreciate that.
So he wears his ring. I had rented this car. It was like his dream car he always wanted. So we go, and I can't remember, some song came on the radio. It was like the worst song that could have came on. But we get to the restaurant, so we start eating. So this is what's funny. I love seafood, but I never used to eat butter with my crab legs. Mm-hmm. But during our separation, me and my girlfriend used to go out a lot, and she eat butter on her crab legs. So I tasted it one time. I was like, oh my goodness, this is real good. So we're at the table, and he's like, when you start eating your crab legs with butter, I'm like, you having a whole affair, and you worrying about why I'm using
this butter on these crab legs. This is. Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, just hold it, because he expecting you to flip. If you flip out, you're gonna kill all the progress. But in my head, I was like, you should just pour the butter over everything. Just get petty with it. But I was like, I went out with such and such, and she had it, and I tasted it. But in the back of my head, I'm like, you having a whole affair, and you tripping off me with some butter. But anyway, so we go home. We're intimate, everything. I'm tripping out. And then we wake up the next morning, and he's like, I just want you to know, just because last night happened, that doesn't mean I'm coming home.
Dang, Shane.
Right? You see how the Shane train is slowing down?
The Shane train is slowing down.
So we're like trying, we're talking. He's very honest. Like, I'm not saying I'm coming back. So that's when it happens. I turn into like super wife of the year. I'm doing everything that he would have ever imagined a wife to do. Because now I'm in competition mode, even though I'm like, I shouldn't have to be competing for none of this. So we do, and I can tell he's starting to come back home. And the more he's coming back home, the more I'm slipping back to like how I really feel.
Oh no.
So we're sitting on the bed, right? She was like,
I'm rooting. Look, I'm over here rooting for this one.
And I said, on the bed, I said, do you love her? And he didn't say no. I mean, he didn't say yes, but he didn't say no. He said, I don't know. And that was rock bottom. And I said, you win. I can't, there's nothing enough in me. And I go in the bathroom, and I had cried. You have cries, but you got different cries. And It was like that break cry. Like I couldn't, the turtle heart shell, it finally like cracked. I couldn't keep the whatever. I don't really care if you don't come back. That broke. Yeah. And he came in the bathroom and he held me. And it was the first time that he said, I'm sorry, that it felt different. Mm-hmm. And I'll let him tell that part, because when he heard the scream come out.
Yeah, it was like, you ever watch Baby Boy, like Taraji P. Henson, she cried? It was like that type of cry. It was like, and I was just like, whoa. But and so,
for anybody who haven't seen that, you just gonna have to YouTube that
just
scene.
Go watch that
get
scene.
It.
Just go watch that scene. And it did, like she said, it did something extra to me, because we were just in a bad place. And I think during that time, it was just like, as she said, she was slipping away. It put in my mind, okay, well, we're going right back to what made me leave anyway. And I didn't see it as, now she's acting this way because I have an affair. I'm saying this is how she's acting because this is how it's just, our life just is. And it made it harder because, like she said, I felt like she was just in competition and saying that basically if she couldn't have me, nobody could have me. So she was doing all these things. So the smallest negative,
the smallest regression, you were like, nope, you're not being consistent here. Yeah.
Right. And now realizing that I just wasn't being consistent on my part either. And so And since I wasn't totally like honest up front with everything and just completely blunt, it did make it harder. And just looking back on things now, I understand like how that affects her, how that did affect her. And so it's, of course, people want to say, I wish I can go back and change it. And that's actually, I get it. That's a true statement. I do wish I would have just, this, that, and the third, this is what it is. So we could have just dealt with it all instead of spending so much extra time with her questioning herself, with all the questions in her head, with us going back and forth. And so it's just, I took it upon myself to be like, okay, let me just do every single thing that I have to do to try and fix this, to try and make it right. And it was a little things. Like I started being, I think, like overly explaining myself, overly compensating for, just for my doing wrong. So I'm gonna do everything out the box. And at that point in time, it was just to help her heal or to win her. But now it's just she deserves it in a way, so I can just do things for her in that way now. Yeah, that cry did something to me because I've never. It was a long time before she had really opened up or been vulnerable to me that hard, and it took me back to, as we said before, I finally felt some, like she said, she felt my real sorry. I felt some real emotion and hurt from her, which made me want to fix that because, as backwards as it sounds, I was still very in love with her. I still loved her a lot. I was just hurting myself, and I just didn't care in a way. So it's
right.
It's totally oxymoronic, but yeah, I love you.
You guys are so awesome. Look, we are the
So,
Shane train is moving forward. Team Tracy
going back up, going back again.
So how did you guys kind of get to this point? Because let me just first commend you. The way that you are even telling this, it takes great strength, great maturity. It shows that you have really healed these areas where Shane is just like, no, that wasn't the time. It was the other time. Remember that first one? And the way that you are able to even address and walk through what has happened has really shown that y'all have healed from that and you have moved forward. So just really quickly, what were some tips? What were some things that you did to get to where you are now? Because I love how you said it in the submission, Tracy, but like you want to see marriages thrive even after situations like this. So kind of what were some of those steps that you guys took in being intentional on your relationship to rebuild it to what it sounds like even better than what it was prior to?
Yes.
Most definitely.
So the first step, well, one, the main thing that helped us is we both knew God. We both had to get back to that individually. But we also had to do the work. So it wasn't just we praying and we fasting, like we had to do the work. The hardest part was the truth. So what he was saying, the truth came out in different stages. And every time another nugget came out, it dropped. And I was like, hit me all the way. Let me break down all the way so we can build back up. Because what you're doing is every time we build up and another piece of the truth comes out, you destroy the foundation. And we had to start over. But when he really, really was like, I'm coming home, he cut all ties. And then she messages me. And she's like, hey, I just want you to know he's lying and different things like that. And I just told her, sweetheart, I'm not upset with you. You owe me nothing. You owe me no explanation. But if you cared about me, you should have messaged me when it first started, not now that he wants to come home. So, but I was like, thank you. Anything he's lying about, the truth will come out. So fast forward, the truth does come out all the way in January. It is explosive. So we started doing small talks. We set boundaries because I said, I need to know everything because the unknown in my head is way worse. Like the things that I'm imagining is way worse.
Right.
I need to talk. And I had to, when it would get too much, I would be like, okay, this is enough for today. We did things like not talk in our bedroom. So that stigma wasn't in our bedroom. So our bedroom is still
good.
A place of peace. We didn't talk in the car, especially if I was driving, because as emotions get up, you start,
She already driving.
Yes. Pick a public place, because you automatically going to keep your volume and stuff in check, because you know that there are other people around. But be honest and be a safe place. I tell people, so I'm gonna go a little ahead really quick. So we just did start this page, which is why me and Bree were connected, called Marriage Miles. And it was funny this morning as I was getting ready, Holy Spirit said, the military takes you so many places. So that miles part, it just connected it so much more.
Yes, I love it.
But one of the things I tell the women on the page is, or whoever's been cheated on, it doesn't have to be hard. And I know that sounds crazy because there was an affair, there was an outside person. But a lot of times we come in thinking it has to be super hard because it's all we know. And I always use this super quick example of labor. When you're a little girl growing up, all you see on TV is the screaming, the hollering, get it out, I hate you, and it hurts. And every labor story is not like that. But if you don't ever see it differently, that's what you literally go in thinking. And you may not even be in that much pain, but you're going to act that way because that's all you've been fed. And so I was petty at times. I didn't, even the days that I would be okay, I didn't want to be okay because I didn't want him to think that it was okay. And so he would say sometimes, like, you making yourself get mad right now, because I felt like it wasn't okay. It was too soon for us to be okay. It was too soon for us to be happy. The books say, once trust is broken, it takes double the time. But as my first lady says at our church in Virginia, who told you that?
Right.
Who says you have to wait? So I'm like, well, it's going to be 8 years before we can be happy again. And we caused a lot. We prolonged our healing. And so we've taken our experience now on our page, and we're trying to help couples see a different way. And a lot of people be like, y'all just talk about it, because like you said, we're completely healed. Back to the steps. There's certain movies we couldn't watch. There's certain songs I couldn't listen to. You have to become aware of what triggers you. And then on the flip side, one thing I loved about Shane, once he was in it, he was like, I got to be able to take what happens. I got to understand, if we're watching a movie, as soon as somebody cheat, he's like, are you okay? You're okay? Mm-hmm. So he started to become aware. He used this perfect example the other day on his post, and he said, if you only use 3 ice cubes and now you're using 5, even though that's something so small to you, your spouse will be like, oh, so when he was cheating, did she give him 5 ice cubes? Like, why all of a sudden he need 2?
Now that's a good post, right? Because now he's looking at you with that butter, because he's like, wait. Where does butter come from? You over here upset at me. I like the ice. We have to
use the ice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, but the important part is you both have to come to the table. You can't. You have to let go of your right to be right in order to get it right. And so you both have to come to the table, because I was at a point where it didn't matter what I did. My defense was, but I ain't cheat. Yeah. I didn't cut you. I didn't burnt your clothes or whatever. And no, I didn't. I actually didn't have the psycho wife moment. But anything I did, I justified it because he cheated. Like, at that point, it wasn't nothing I could do that would equal you cheated. And again, our actions just prolonged our healing. And once we got to a point where we was like, look, I'm in it. We're going to stop with the D word. D is only going to be for Dixon. Because I would throw divorce up really quick. And once we got to a point of talking, I could tell him, when I throw divorce up, it's a protection. It's a quick jab at you. And it's not that I mean it, but it makes me feel, it gives me the upper hand immediately. But I was destroying us, because after so long, your words have power.
Absolutely.
Life or death, our tongue. And we had to take that off the table. And once you literally are committed, we just did a Bible study 2 days ago about the difference between covenant and contract. Contract marriages,
Come on, y'all. Yes.
I'm with you until you mess up. I'm with you until you do something I don't like. I'm with you till you gain that 10 pounds.
Right. Because contracts, they have clauses and ways to get out and all these other.
Yep.
You absolutely right.
But once you switch to covenant, you really walk out those vows. And I always kind of there's certain things that better or worse shouldn't cover. It shouldn't cover adultery, but you can heal from it. But if you're like being physically, mentally abused, those you should get help.
Absolutely. I like how we had Dr. Gary Chapman of the 5 Love Languages talk about abuse when it comes to marriage. And I love how he said that getting help is an act of love towards the person, like towards the abuser, even saying, you are better than hitting me. And I love you so much that I'm not going to accept this treatment. And I just was like, sir, I have never heard anybody break it down like that you not being together because you're not in a healthy space is actually still an act of love. And in that case, it makes more sense to separate. But I absolutely love how y'all are breaking down the difference, because you're right. When you walk out those marriage vows differently, when it's not just a contract, when it's not just when you mess up in this way right here, I'm out. And I like that you don't use, I like how you said that the only thing D is going to stand for is Dixon. We're not saying the D word. I love that.
But yeah, so that's it. And so to fast forward back again, that's what our goal for the page is right now. It is focused on infidelity, but we're going to be doing military challenges and just different things, because I just changed our cover photo to say, life is too short to be married and miserable. If you want to be married, let's get healed, let's be happy, because it's amazing. Now, he's my best friend now, and I used to tell him all the time, I used to be like, that's weird when people are like, I want to be with one person for the rest of my life, and not sexually, just every day, like doing the same thing. But now I'm like, oh my God, I get it. You're so comfortable. It's a safe place. It's a security. And it's just easy now. And I think, a lot of people even say that marriage is hard and this is hard. And if that's all you hear, you go in thinking that, people say the newlywed phase, and our pastors always say, who says you have to get out the newlywed phase?
Facts.
Why do we go into marriage? Wait, when you hit that 4-year mark, it's going to be rough. When you hit that, why? Right. You get the 7 year, you get itch. But we are at 10 years, and I'm telling you, I'm so excited now.
Right. Yes.
I'm
excited for you. I'm just sitting here like, I'm on the Shane train and Team Tracy. Like, yes. We about to get a shirt and everything. Look, shout out to the shirt, Marriage Miles shirts coming to a Facebook group near you. I'm gonna need y'all to order.
But yes, so I think, that kind of covers the story and our vision. But I love what you do. I've been slowly getting caught up on some of the podcasts.
Thank you so much. I love that.
It changes it to be able to hear, different aspects. And that's even just little military things when I talk to other wives. And I'm like, sometimes it's the best thing for your marriage. As hard as it is to be away from your family, because when you're here in Okinawa, you don't have nobody else to lean on. You can't run to your mama's house. You can't. And it forces you guys to gel together in a way that you lose your safety net. You become each other's safety net.
Oh, that's another tip.
Yes.
Yeah, cut off the people that are talking negatively about, those people gotta go. No matter how long that relationship has been there, no matter what the relationship is, that's
family, DNA, blood.
It don't matter. Like if it's not pushing you towards a better marriage, like just might as well go.
Look, y'all are so in line right now. Y'all don't even know. I so agree with that, because I talk about the power of relationships and how you really have to guard the seats at the table that are at the table of your life. And you're absolutely right. If there are people who are taking hostage seats as your most valuable players and they are in your ear, it will affect your relationship. You need people that are going to support you. So I love that you brought that up as a tip. And I do want to ask, just from talking about the group specifically, Marriage Miles on Facebook. I'll have a link in the show notes with the so that you can look into the group. It is a private group. So tell me about just kind of the transformation that you've seen in the group, because it sounds like you guys are creating a really safe space to get some questions answered, to kind of break that, like you said, that stereotypical, well, now this has happened, so I have to be like this. Like, no, getting through this doesn't have to be hard. You have to be willing to put forth the right effort and know the steps. So kind of share the transformation that you see and some great impact that you've seen in that group.
You want me to take it?
Well, I'm not big on social media actually. If I'm not watching a video or something comedy, I'm pretty much not on. But it is amazing to see how many people, I guess, have shown up or come out and like things that have happened. I never ever would have thought that we would have even been having this type of conversation with somebody at all. And so I think that's really big. My wife has told me, that a lot of women, have come to her. Oh, and ladies, she doesn't really give me all y'all's information, so we don't, y'all. That's a safe place. I don't know y'all business like that, and I'm not nosy, so. But so it's great to see what she does tell me, how many people have been helped. Um, is for me. I know that it was I didn't have a lot of support from other men, from like a lot. I know I had like one or two people that I could talk to, and as life is just life, as adults, everybody has something going on, so they weren't able to be there all the time for me when I needed it, and who I could always run to if that was the case wasn't the best for me. So I feel like I'm just at a different place now to where I can be that for somebody or I can talk to somebody. And it's just the quick tips, even if, and of course, with anything that you do, there's going to be those secret watchers or secret people that will never say anything to you or show you anything. And that's fine. As long as we're reaching somebody, I think that's a good point. So I would recommend it to anybody that's going through it on the flip side of it, because the few that I do post, I'll post my little nuggets here and there on the opposite side. Um, it's just I feel like it's a good place for people to go to, and it can really help change lives in that way. So
You guys have no idea how excited I am. And I'm definitely leaning on y'all. So y'all might have some more people coming on to the group. But when I tell you this podcast, Hearts and Stripes, started out from just seeing so many couples around us, friends of ours, like family, all separate in the course of, it was maybe a year or two. And it was like 6 different couples. I was just like, whoa, first of all, y'all back up. But also, I always like to say I was really the friend that was just like, what do I have to Google? Who I will pay for counseling for y'all. Like, what do I have to do? And I found that a lot of the resources were just not dealing with the topic of infidelity. It wasn't talking to the hurt that they were in right there. And I just want to foot stomp the point that you said again, because people have this mindset that it has to go this way. There's hurt, there's shame, there's embarrassment, right? So people are like, well, we just have to separate now. And I'm like, but do you? I mean, like, can we not work through this? And I love that y'all are creating a safe space to have those conversations, to unpack these. Well, what do I do next? Or where do I go from here? Or if I feel like this, I like how you said you have to let go of you being right to make it right. That's huge.
Right. That was good.
That was good. We gonna quote. That's a quotable right there. We're gonna. That was good, because I think oftentimes, especially if you are the person who has been cheated on, you hold on to your little piece of, well, at least I didn't do, and you use it as a weapon against your spouse, as opposed to seeing, because even in the beginning of this conversation, you guys both took ownership of the roles that you played. And I think that is a huge step for people. As we list out these steps that you have to do, you have to own your part. And I even love how Shane, in this, you weren't defensive about it. You just kind of gave, this was my perspective, and I really didn't understand what you were going through. And I think
It used to
in
not be
having,
that way.
say that again.
It used to not be that way.
Thank you for being transparent, because that took work, right?
Even when we first talked about doing the page, it was one of those things. It was just like, okay, I'm gonna really have to be transparent and open, because she's may have mentioned it a couple of times in like previous posts that were just like big things, but it's never really been dealt with or out to the public like that. So for me, for lack of better words, was trying to save face. It was just like,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be the good husband. I wanted to be the perfect guy or whatever. And so she had the best. So it was just like, okay, now everybody's going to know. And I think that's where a lot of people get scared at, is because, especially if you're the one that has done wrong, it's just like, how are people going to look at me? And for the person that was done wrong, it's a matter of, okay, how are people going to think about me if I stay? And so it's one of those, it's just both parts have to really be able to be open and be transparent. I'm glad that we're at that point.
Yep.
So that has really helped a lot. You got to get out yourself for healing and to help other people grow as well. I mean, we went through it, so
Yeah.
I feel like it's better to help us.
Today, I'm actually going to be posting on silencing the shame, because it's shame on both sides, and that you still have value, both of you, and that's so what we kind of just start. So the page is only a month. A month old.
I applaud y'all. No, that is fantastic. I can see it really growing, and I love how Shane was saying, like, you had to kind of like get over yourself to help other people. I don't think y'all understand the impact that y'all will have. And that's just me, from someone who is kind of in the trenches on this military marriage thing. That is infidelity is one of the biggest things I see in these spouses pages, in these groups. I actually did a marriage survey in 2020, and I was assessing or asking spouses questions about military marriage. That way I could better see how I could provide resources or guests for the show, or just anything that could maybe help them along the way. And some of the feedback that was on there was heartbreaking. Infidelity came up time and time again. And when they rated their marriages on a scale of exceptional all the way down to poor or below average, half of them said their marriage was either average, below average, or poor. And I'm just like, for the sacrifice, for the time away, for the lifestyle that we live, we need to be thriving. Like you said earlier, it's what is the goal here? What is the point here if you just go just exist in a relationship that's a business relationship? Like, you could be doing way better things with your time, embracing the fact that you are in a relationship that is your partner, that is your teammate, that is your cheerleader, that is your confidant. That's the person that till death do us part. We're going to rock this thing even when the kids are grown, even after all these things go on. It's still you and me. Like, we have to position ourselves so that we can thrive in this thing, from the small things day to day, little excitements, little enjoyments. Like you said, distance makes the heart grow fonder. So I feel like love is just different in the military, because it's just that distance really does, I think, make our relationship stronger. And when we're able to overcome things like this, like infidelity, man, like, I'm looking at y'all right now and I'm like, I know people who haven't had half of these things come up, and they don't look as close as y'all do, in sync, just on one accord. And I think, like you said, it had to happen for y'all to get to this point. And I think there is a blessing in the lesson. And I think more people can gain so much from the group and just from hearing y'all story. So I'm a big fan. I'm about to get a t-shirt. I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna have to get a marriage miles shirt. And then I'm gonna get on the back, I'm gonna just add it because it might not be on a shirt. I'm gonna put the Shane Train and Team Tracy on the back.
So yes.
What final? Go ahead.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. So with the page, we've done. So I was saying we just hit a month. We've done a Bible study. We've done a Zoom with a couple. I've done coffee and convo where I've met some wives that are here, and just shared. And we've been getting messages like, I've been going through this for 3 years, and I've just got to a point where I can say that my husband cheated. We've been going back and forth for a year and a half, and today I was out looking for lingerie. They're like, your page is so transparent and it's so real and it's so relatable that stuff we've been dealing with for years, in a matter of weeks, like we can see the difference, we can see the growth. And we hit everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. And then what we started doing is I'll post something and then he'll come back with a part 2 so that you can get both perspectives. Because I'm posting, from the spouse that was cheated on, but it's even still helping us grow because I'm reading his posts and I'm seeing into his heart, into his insight, into how it was for him. And I love that about him because he sets the example of what it takes. Because even little things like him telling me I was beautiful, him telling me I was attractive was hard. It was very hard after the affair because I'm like, I didn't have a facelift. This is the same body.
He was afraid that he was also going to get rejected too. So yeah. I can definitely see how that was hard. Yeah.
So, but I'm just excited. I'm excited for what's next.
I am excited. Y'all don't even know. I'm serious about this shirt though. I'm excited for what's next. I am so grateful that y'all had this conversation. The link to join the group, if this, I know it spoke to some people out here. If you want to get connected to the Marriage Miles Facebook group, I will have a link in the show note. Please reach out. You can connect with them to see how to support the page. Maybe this is not your story, but like me, you feel like this is something that needs to get supported, so that their message can be broadened. Please connect with them so that you can contribute and support in any way that they set up to be supported. Shane, Tracy, what last bit of advice that you maybe have for couples that are experiencing infidelity? Maybe they're walking through it. Maybe someone is in a position where they're not sure what the next step is, or maybe they think things have gone too far and the only option is divorce. What do you say to those couples?
You want to go first?
I will say that love covers a multitude of sin. When you really break down what love really is, you can work together. Be honest, be vulnerable. We have on our Marriage Miles shirts, but my favorite shirt we have, it just says married with a period, not a comma, not a semicolon, married, period. And if you go in with that mindset, that come hell or high water, I'm swimming and sinking with you, that we're fighting together, not toward each other. And I think that's what you have to, not see your spouse as the enemy, and lean on them and be honest and be vulnerable and be their safe place too. Especially as a wife, we put a lot of pressure on the husband to be that safe place and that protection, but it's equally as important for wives to also be that safe place, and to protect your union at all costs.
Shane over here snapping. Y'all can't see, but that was good. Yes.
for me, especially to men, because this is how most of us are, please find somebody to talk to. A good person to talk to, an actual accountable person. Um, it has to be somebody that you trust and somebody that you're good with, but you can't have a yes man in your corner, and you can't have a yes woman in your corner either. Like, you have to find somebody that's actually going to challenge you, and it's just be open and transparent with what you actually do need, and that's on both sides. As humans, we're not mind readers. As much as we would love for our spouse to be able to know exactly what we're thinking, it's not always possible. It's not always feasible. So just be open with each other. If you have a question, ask it. If you have something to say it. But just always do it with love, and do it with kindness. So actually be respectful of the other person, and keep a circle pretty small at that time with actual other couples that you can trust, other couples that you can hang around, that you can be around, and just continue to date each other and actually like be with each other. Life can be like hectic with jobs and kids and everything else, but make your marriage a priority so you don't lose sight of actually what's important, and that y'all can actually be together and keep on thriving.
So good, both of y'all. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for your transparency of your story. Thank you for walking through those hard times so that now you can be an example, because I know it was not easy. It's still a healing process, because I feel like there's greater. I always say that even right now, as great as y'all relationship is, there's still greater. There's still another level to it. And I'm excited. I'm excited about your relationship. I'm excited about the relationships that you are impacting. I'm excited about these shirts that I'm about to be rocking, and y'all just don't even know.
I'm sending Bree some shirts.
Yes, please send me some shirts. For anyone who follows me on social media, y'all know Christian T-shirt Friday is in full effect. And I'm actually definitely going to be highlighting you guys as a shirt, married period. Oh, that has my name all over it. So I'm so excited for what you guys are doing. And before I let you go, my favorite segment of the episode, Heart Tracks. For anybody who is looking to catch up on all of the Heart Tracks playlists, you can find that on Spotify. Heart Tracks 2 for season 2 of Hearts and Stripes podcast. So we need to know for this episode, what is the Heart Track?
It is Healing Part by CeCe Winans. Healing Part. And if I can, I'm going to just read the first.
Yes, please do.
It says, it's hard to know what to say. We said so much that we regret. What a price we pay when we can't forgive, much less forget. The more I hear, the more I fear that we might lose each other. Can we skip to the part where we come out of our senses before we go too far? Love shouldn't be so hard. Can we open our hearts and drop our defenses? Find where forgiveness starts. Let's stop where we are and skip to the healing part.
Now, come on, CeCe. Now, come on.
Come on.
That's good. That is so good. I'm excited for this Heart Track. That was a drop mic moment right there. So for everyone, thank you so much, Shane, Tracy. It has been a pleasure. I'm just really excited. This is probably one of my favorite episodes for season 2. Thank you for your story. Thank you for what, don't cry, Shane. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for this group. I am so excited for this to be just a resource, because I know it is going to help so many military marriage couples. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. This is Hearts and Stripes. We are the few, the proud, that aim high and are forged by love. Always ready, always there. We are Mill Marriage Strong.